what I'm want to keep my eye on is what's happened with social media, especially to people that grew up all the time on social media and the impact
Right.
it's had on mental health and your perception of your worth and your value and
Hmm.
keeping up with the Joneses and all that kind of stuff. Because what that is that's a disconnect from reality, right? And a disconnect from the person to person interaction. One of the reasons I look forward to this podcast is you and I talking for a couple hours,
Right.
because I don't get a lot of interaction with people outside my family here, just because of I work from home. I never leave my house. I mean, my truck can stay in the garage for a week at a time. So
Right.
I worry about more isolation, more mental health issues as people continue to check out. And then when they do have to come back to reality, it's not as cool
I
as
know
where
it's
they were, right?
lame and yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
So
So those are the two things that I'll be curious to see what happens. I know that's not the actual tech itself. It's
mhm.
more the cultural and social impacts that I would like that I'm keeping an eye on. But that's kind of where I stand right now.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't think about that as I was writing my my what I think about it is more practical, but yeah, I think people isolating themselves or they just spend so many hours and so much time in this that when they come out, they don't know how to readjust to the real world, right? They don't know how to speak to people. They don't know how to how to just conduct themselves in real environments and or still conducting themselves as if they're still in a virtual environment with no
Yeah.
consequences and no things like that. So no, I that is really something to think about moving forward. And um
Yeah.
we know that there's going to be bad uses for this
Yeah,
this
I
type
mean,
of stuff, just
all
like
of
with
the negative
everything.
stuff that is in real life and that's on
Right,
the internet it's already started to happen
right,
in
right.
VR and with AI. I mean, those are the two technologies right now that I think are going to dominate the conversation. But,
Mhm.
maybe the simplest example, I would encourage folks to think about this um, if it wasn't $3,500, Karen and I could both get one of these. We watched Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning hit streaming. So we
Mhm.
watched that the other night and it was great. We watched it together. We talked to each other, we joke around about it. But I think about if we wanted to watch it in VR
Mhm.
on Apple's Vision Pro, well, two of us sitting on the couch with a headset on is not the same as watching the movie together, right?
Right.
And so I would encourage folks to think about that. Our relationships that we have, and I said this on the Leaders List podcast, the most important thing we have in our lives are relationships. And if any technology, including AR or VR, harms those relationships or takes away from those relationships or causes isolation and those kinds of things, then we've got to watch it. So don't want to harp on this because I absolutely believe there's amazing things that are going to happen with this. But just like getting addicted to video games or getting addicted to
Right.
social media, I can see people getting addicted to this augmented reality, and you end up with things like the movie Real Player One, right, where the only place people could go was into the Oasis and
Right.
that kind of stuff. And that's not the future any of us want to have. So I think we need to keep our eye on that. Not trying to
Right.
be a
Right.
doomsdayer or
No,
anything
no,
like
no.
that.
But you're right. You're right. And also, you mentioned earlier about people's self-image and their self-worth and things like that. I just can see this future leaning to. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm touching my mic again. But I can see this future heading to where someone's self-esteem and their self-worth is so low that they only feel like they're worth anything in that
Yeah.
virtual environment. They don't want people to look at them without their glasses on. They don't want people to interact with them without their glasses on. And they, you know, basically isolate themselves from the world and they're only who they really want to be inside. And we see bits of that now with some of these massive online, role playing games, right? They're only who they are when they're that wizard mage or something like that, and they're slaying dragons and stuff like that. But in the real world, they're just antisocial and just a person who can't, navigate um, our reality. But they're the
Yeah.
king of Avalon. You know what I mean? In their online world. So I just don't want to see that, which I know we are. There's going to be a bit of that, and hopefully that's going to be, you know, after dealing with generations of social media and technology addictions and stuff like that. Hopefully, as a society, we'll be more equipped to be able to deal with stuff like that when it comes along.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things, not to keep going on and on about this, but in the Oasis,
No.
the first thing that the players did when they took over the Oasis was close it 2 days a week, completely close it.
Hmm.
And they said that's because we need the interaction in the real world. And that's absolutely true. And
Right.
then the other problem that I see that people need to think about is, do I give up on becoming the person or achieving my goals in the real world because they're so much easier to achieve virtually? But if I am a great leader or people look up to me or those kinds of things in the virtual world and I'm a recluse and I don't deal with people, or I don't ever work on those skills that are needed to become the kind of person that I want to be in the real world, then that's a problem too.
Yeah.
These two things are going to collide if you just think I'm just going to do the virtual world because it's so much easier and I can just hit reset, or I can just go pay for extra currency, or whatever
Right.
the case may be, other than and that prevents us from going through the journey to get to who we really could be and to get the
Right.
most out of our real lives.
Right. Right.